On July 23rd, we are hosting quite an event at the Bell House in Brooklyn, and you can get your tickets now. Eliza and I will be joined on stage by some of the food world's most interesting figures, including Haley Catalano and Chuck Cruz, and the one and only Padma Lakshmi. We will talk about summer cooking and some of the big topics of the day. The event will also feature a live taping of Bon Appetit's Bake Club with Jesse Shepchek and Shilpa Uskokovic. That's Haley, Chuck, Shilpa, Jesse, and Padma, all appearing on the Bell House stage with Eliza and I. July 23rd is the date. Get your tickets at the Bell House website or the link in our show notes. I hope to see you there. Named one of the Wall Street Journal's 10 best places to go in 2025, Traverse City is northern Michigan magic. Think sparkling blue waters, golden dunes, and of course, incredible food. This summer marks the debut of the Traverse City Food and Wine Festival, running August 20th through 24th. The event highlights both national and local chefs, including Tyler Florence, Ji-Hae Kim, Mei Lin, and Kate Williams, and features ticketed dinners, a grand tasting tent, and wine tasting. Visit traversityfoodandwine.com for details.
We'd be there for dinner sometimes, too, and we'd have like lavish dinners. One time, I finally was like, I'm having caviar, and I ordered caviar, and that got around. Like, people were talking about that, like, at talent agencies and stuff, like, you know, the Simpsons writers order caviar, and I think after that, they started to they put a limit on the amount that we could order.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. It was a lot of fun having Bill Oakley into the studio. Bill is a writer and professional food enthusiast, as he says. He's also a former head writer for The Simpsons and has written for The Cleveland Show and Portlandia, and created the series Mission Hill. I love talking with Bill about all kinds of food topics and his latest obsessions. We discuss writing food into memorable episodes of The Simpsons and his unique way of touring the country for highly entertaining live events. Bill is a real original, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. And at the top of the show, it's the return of Three Things, where Eliza and I talk about what is exciting us in the world of restaurants, cookbooks, and the food world as a whole. Eliza, we're back with Three Things. How are you?
I'm good, Matt. How are you?
I'm great. Do you want to start?
Yeah, well, as you know, it's very, very hot in New York right now.
Ugh, yes it is.
Like heat wave. And so I've been seeking out cold, refreshing drinks. And I had a really good one over the weekend at this little coffee shop called Larry's Cafe. It's spelled like C-A-P-H-E, like the Vietnamese kind of version. It's a Vietnamese cafe. And they had a matcha coconut drink that I cannot stop thinking about. It's coconut water served with like a matcha cloud on top. I think it might be, I don't know if it's like heavy cream that they whip or how they accomplish that, but it's like this matcha floating on top of the coconut water with a little bit of coconut flakes, and you can just kind of drink it down, and it was so refreshing and good.
I love it. What neighborhood is it in?
East Williamsburg.
Okay.
It's kind of like the Williamsburg-Greenpoint border, I would say, over by Brooklyn Steel, that area.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, Ali Damrchai, who's written for Taste and been on the podcast, she does pop-ups there over the weekend. So I'd heard about it from her, but my hairdresser happens to be nearby. So I was just getting my hair cut, and I stopped in for a matcha, and it was so good. And I think that there are a lot of coffee shops in New York that serve matcha, but they really shouldn't be serving matcha. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not good quality. They don't mix it well. They don't know what they're doing. I think everyone was drinking matcha at Larry's Cafe, and it seems like they're just doing a lot of cool things with it.
Turns a lot of people off on matcha when you get when the ratios aren't right, and you're getting that,
it's like chalky
earthiness and chalky, exactly. And I hate to think that people would be turned off from matcha because of a bad experience at a single cafe, because matcha, when done right, there's nothing better.
Yes, and especially this kind of coconut pairing I've never had before, but it was super refreshing and hydrating. It felt good.
Tropical fruits, baby. I love that.
What's your first thing?
Well, my first thing is we don't need to talk about Lula Cafe in general, because this is a very pro Lula Cafe podcast. You had just returned from Chicago yourself and talked all about it. But I'm still going to talk about Lula Cafe, but I'm not going to talk about the whole meal. I'm talking about a single dish, because I got to go there, and I think by all estimates, it is Chicago's best restaurant. I just love what they're doing for dinner and for brunch and for all hours of the day, really as a reminder, this is a restaurant from Jason Hamill. He's been on the show before, and Eliza and I share a lot of love for this restaurant. I'm going to just drill down into one dish because it was a perfect dish. It was their asparagus dish, and it was at the end of asparagus season. This was in early June. And it's from Klug Farm, a local farm, is the asparagus, and cooked it perfectly. Shocked it. It has that crunch, it has that color, that brightness, and just all the asparagus properties that you love were there in the actual asparagus. So what's he doing with the asparagus? So he's got a wild onion sous vide. He's got this black olive, this dehydrated powder that's going over it, and then he pairs it interestingly and brilliantly with a very mild Stilton blue cheese. I found it like it wasn't punch me in the face blue cheese. It had a lot of character to it. A fine drizzle of olive oil over it. Kind of my perfect vegetable dish. The whole meal was pescatarian. I was dining with a pescatarian, and I felt like this was the move at Lula to go pescatarian, at least for us. And I just loved it. I got to eat so many vegetables. Asparagus at Lula Cafe. That's my first thing.
That sounds so good. And I didn't have it when I was there.
You didn't have it. So yeah, there you go.
My next thing is I went to the Industry for the first time.
Okay. Brooklyn or Manhattan?
Brooklyn.
Wow.
Which I don't know. I think I'm a contrarian, and I saw the line and I didn't want to wait in it because there's so much pizza around that.
Annoying.
In Williamsburg. But I stood in the line with my friend London and ordered like 5 different slices. And
for 2 people, I love it.
Well, I brought some home to Shirley, but we tried a lot of them. And I think it's a really good, I think the lines are good. I think it's a really good slice.
Hot take. The Industry is good.
Hot take. Well, I think, sometimes restaurants are hyped and it doesn't always match up to the hype. And I think the flavor of the dough is really good, and the texture and the thickness. Like, it's thin, it's crisp, but it's not the kind of crisp that messes up the roof of your mouth like Joe's Pizza or other places.
Yes.
I had the La Industry slice, which is like a burrata prosciutto slice.
Yeah, exactly.
I had the white pie. I had a slice of olive oil cake afterwards. They were slinging frozen rosé and Aperol spritzes, which it was noon when I was there, so I didn't partake, but it was hot and I was watching people drink them and I was very jealous. And I also got to watch these guys. I have never seen a bigger unit of pizza dough in my life. They rolled out like, I don't even know what container it could have possibly fit in, and then quickly, sectioned it off, made it into little balls, put it to the side. Just kind of watching the production and the level of pizza that they are bringing out of this place was very interesting and fun.
It's a high volume shop, and Clayton and I, along with Mauricio Leo, went on a 7-slice crawl, which we're going to air on our podcast later in this summer. And Industry, it was a polarizing stop for us.
Really? You didn't like it?
I don't like that burrata on the pizza. I'm not a fan.
It's a lot of burrata.
It's a lot, right?
I think out of all the slices I had, my favorite was probably just the classic, like, I don't know what they call the cheese slice, but that
Just
classic one.
Perfect slice.
Pepperoni was great. The white pie.
Mm-hmm.
I just think I went in thinking it was going to be, a lot of hype, but
it's a great pizza.
I think they're doing a lot of good things.
Great dough. They're thinking about time and flavor with that. And I also had the olive oil cake, which I thought was extremely good.
Yeah, and I like how they have carrot cake, they have gelato, they have a lot of
pastry
dessert
cakes
going
is
on
nice
there, which is nice for a pizza place.
Absolutely.
I don't think you normally expect that.
It's a really great restaurant.
What's your next thing?
My next thing is I want to call out Gary He, author of McAtlas. We've had Gary on the show, and I'm going to link to that in the show notes. It's a terrific conversation. Gary was at the James Beard Awards. We were there as well, and he won 2 James Beard Awards for his book McAtlas. And I just want to say, like, Gary deserves this. He's a self-published author, and to see a self-published author win these major awards really stands out to me. I think he really worked hard on this book. It's terrific. It covers McDonald's through the world, and it's filled with terrific writing and essays about the history of McDonald's and some of the cultural history of the locations. And of course, his photography. He's a really talented photographer. That's kind of his first skill. And the book really came together nicely. And I'm really, really happy it was recognized by the James Beard Foundation. Gary gave the most gracious speeches and was really fun on the podium. But what I liked most about Gary is Gary's hustle. It was incredible. So the James Beard Awards, the media awards happen at this college, and there's it's like there's a street level that people can all walk out to. I'd never seen this before at a James Beard Awards. He literally hired a street team to give out his book.
Wow, I love that.
It was so ill. Like, Gary deserves props. He's giving out the book to all the people, all the nominees and the people in the media. It was such a savvy move, and just giving the book away out of this like beat up van, and these two really cool kids were just like handing out the book, and Gary's there taking snaps with all sorts of people, and Gary's such an original guy. This book is terrific. You should buy it, and congratulations, Gary.
I love that. I think it's really exciting to see like self-published books like that succeeding.
I love to see that. I was really happy for him. What's your next thing?
My last thing is a book that I'm reading right now that I'm really enjoying, which is called Butter by Asako Yuzuki. Have you read this book?
Heard all about it, on my list, have not read it. Tell me about it.
It's a Japanese translation that was published in English last year, and it's, I guess in brief, about a woman who's a journalist at a men's magazine in Tokyo, and she's trying to cultivate a source to get her like big break scoop. And the source is a woman who is a accused serial killer who like seduced and then took money from and then murdered 3 of her ex-boyfriends. And the way that she entrapped people was through cooking for them and her love of food. And the way that this woman is trying to cultivate a relationship with this accused murder is by going and eating all of the things that this woman like wishes she could eat, but she can't because she's in prison. And the food writing in this book is really good. Sometimes it's almost a little nauseating, but the description of butter, for example, which as the title suggests is a very key ingredient in the book, just makes you want to eat so many things. Like simple like soy sauce buttered rice or grilled mochi with like a sweet soy sauce dipping sauce. All of these things that as I'm reading, I'm just getting very hungry. And I'm not done yet, but I'm enjoying it a lot.
There's like a little bit of a backdoor into the way Japan has been so clever with using butter throughout history, and these dishes all sound delicious. As an aside, I just finished God in the Woods by Liz Moore.
Oh, I read that book too.
I figured everyone read it. I'm like a year and a half late. I just finished it last night. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that book. I think it has like the pacing is interesting.
Pacing is really, really, really interesting and well done. I highly enjoyed it. Sorry, we're doing book club here.
No, I love book club.
Yeah.
What's your last thing?
Last thing is on Sunday, I got to go to the Great Nosh on Governor's Island. Had Mitchell Davis on the episode a couple weeks ago talking about it, and it went off so well. I was really happy. You never know when a food festival is launched. This is a food festival from the Jewish Food Society. It was on a really hot and sunny day, and the vibes were great. I saw so many friends. I saw some listeners who came up and hello to you. Thank you for doing that. And the food was excellent, and that was really the takeaway. Kafar and Dame collabed on a chicken schnitzel, and of course those Dame fries were there. Thai Diner and Katz's did a collaboration as well, this very spicy pastrami sandwich with a mango salad. I just loved it. There was a tent with conversations where mothers and daughters were having sharing stories and doing demos, and I loved that element. And Mark Ronson closed out the whole festival with a DJ set with all Jewish musicians, A-Track, Billy Joel, Bruno Mars, and Madonna as the honorary Jew. And it was really, really, really a great event. And Mitchell had hinted on our interview that they're thinking about future festivals in LA and other places. And congratulations to the Great Nosh, Nama Shefi, and the team at Jewish Food Society. Well done, guys.
I think it sounds like a lot of food on a very hot day, but I'm glad that it was good.
It was a lot, and I think the pacing was right. There was lots of water there. You could eat it. You could eat as much or a little. I think what I like about the model is you pay a small admission fee. They give you a basket and a blanket, and you pay the vendors directly, so you get to decide what dishes you want, and there weren't crazy lines or anything like that either. So,
well, I'm glad it was a nice day.
It was a really nice day. That's 3 things.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Eliza. Bill Oakley, welcome to This Is Taste. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you, too. I'm excited to be here. This is the classiest podcast I've ever been on.
What a compliment.
I know.
Yeah, I feel like you've done some pods in your day. Last time I saw you, we were like walking around a Las Vegas trade show floor.
That was a great event. I had such a blast there, and I had so much crazy food. I had so much cheese. I had so many sausages.
It was
and
good.
I saw you moderate that panel.
Yeah.
And then that's how we met.
We met on the floor. We had some pizza. We walked around. I felt like, was there one product that you were like, this was the one that really stole the show for me?
It was the mini churros for me.
Yeah.
Did you try those?
I did. Those are great.
Yeah, they're like bite-sized, well, they could be like cereal in a bowl, churros of that size, and you can just eat them like popcorn.
I enjoy a popcorn churro. I think
sure.
It's a great idea. Well, we're going to talk about a lot of topics. We're going to talk about your interest in food and some of the great food writing and online, social video, all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
We'll talk about your time working in television for many of the comedy shows. We love The Simpsons, Portlandia, all sorts of shows. But I want to first start. You live in Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
And great food city.
The mighty gastropolis, as Karen Brooks said in her book about Portland being.
Love Karen Brooks. Great reference. Take me through a couple spots in Portland that you really like as a local.
Okay. Well, there's a number of restaurants, but the thing about Portland is I really do think it has the best food scene in America, and I don't think it's inaccurate to say that. And Karen Brooks would obviously agree. One of the things that we have in Portland is there's a fairly low bar to entry in terms of restaurants and food carts in particular. And we have our food cart scene is amazing. People who live in other cities might know food trucks, and food trucks drive around. You see them at events and whatnot. Food carts don't move.
Yeah.
They stay in like in areas, and there's what we have is called cart pods, where there's like 15 carts parked, and you can go, and it's like a food court almost. And so that's one of the things I go to frequently is cart pods, because I love the selection, and there's such a great like renaissance of the cart pod, with also like now indoor seating, thank God, heated, waterproof indoor seating, and like a bar inside, things like that. So I go there. I also go, there's a number of restaurants that I like. Principally, my regular go-to is Canard, which you may have heard of.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've never been, but I know the spot. Yeah.
It's great. Gabe Rucker, I think, is somewhat of a friend of mine, and they have they have the steam burger. They have a lot of elevated food too, but the steam burger is their homage to White Castle, which is probably the best burger I've ever eaten. It's not the traditional burger. It's a slider, but it's a remarkable thing.
Oh, I love a steamed. I mean, Le Pigeon is still one of my best food memories. I love that restaurant.
Yeah, I've never been there because that's a little harder to get into in general. But Canard has also a lot of fun things. Like he does like funfetti pancakes, and he did like a Arby's parody and things like that. And so that's a little more my speed.
Well, let's talk about Simpsons. I feel like we just need to start by framing you were a showrunner on the show for season 7 and 8. You wrote for the Simpsons earlier. What's like work like on the Simpsons? The schedule. I know you've written about the intensity of it. But most importantly, what's the food like in the writer's room?
Okay, see, I can only speak to what The Simpsons was like 25 years ago.
Well, yeah, of course, 7 and 8, which is like the golden years of The Simpsons. Let's be clear.
Thank you. I didn't say it, but you did. Thank you. So yeah, I've actually talked about this. I talk about it in my Ticket to Dinner events. It's one of the things that is actually kind of a funny story, and I don't want to take our whole podcast up on this.
Yeah.
But it was a weird time. This was a time before cell phones. All right. And this was a time when LA only had one area code, and it was a very different world. And you could smoke in the office, in the room. And food became an outsized part of your life because there were no distractions. Like you couldn't sit there and read a newspaper or whatever. You could for 5 minutes, but then people would be like, hey, get to work. So, or you could smoke or you could eat. And there was a room next door loaded with snacks, Oreos, M&Ms, Doritos, whatever. People would come in. Somebody would walk out there, get a bag of Doritos, have 2, and then put it on the table. And then we'd all start eating it. And then we all got real unhealthy. Like I lost 65 pounds when I left The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And so, but food became an outsized part of our life, and the food was delivered because they didn't want you to take the time to go for lunch. So the production assistants would deliver food from local restaurants from the menus. And that also became, because that was your one break. That was your one, working there was hard and not that fun. And so your break was your lunch, and you'd want to make it really, really extensive by ordering an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. One guy used to order a whole pie and then eat a slice of it every hour or so in the afternoon. And then also like we'd be there for dinner sometimes too. And we'd have like lavish dinners because everyone was so mad about having to stay for dinner that you'd try to punish the budget by ordering a lot of food.
Would you get like Spago delivered?
Spago was too far away. We had a lot of other very fancy places.
Yeah.
And then one time I finally was like, I'm having caviar. And I ordered caviar. And that got around. Like people were talking about that, like Italian agencies and stuff. Like, the Simpsons writers ordered caviar. And I think after that, they put a limit on the amount that we could order. But
was there like a common spot that you would, like your go-to? Like, oh, we're just going to blank?
Well, Apple Pan. You know Apple
Oh,
Pan,
yeah.
right? Apple Pan was like, it was practically walking distance from the Fox lot. And man, those burgers are so good. I mean, they've been so good for 80 years. And that's the one place. The other place was California Pizza Kitchen, when that still existed, and Cuckoo, which had that famous implosion, which was like that kind of like grilled chicken place that was
Yeah.
really popular in LA.
Very popular with like locals.
It was great. And
Yeah.
the rotisserie chicken was, there's even jokes about this actually in Simpsons episodes about rotisserie chicken, because this was the golden era of rotisserie chicken.
Yeah. Like super, it was like a yuppie superfood in some ways.
Exactly.
What's it like seeing Lisa hold an iPad? That must be really.
I don't watch that. I mean, the thing is, let me say,
Well, you don't watch the show?
guys, I haven't watched it since about 6 months after we left, and it's not because I know that it's actually apparently very good these days. I hear
love this.
that they the thing about it is I can't enjoy it because I'm constantly thinking about how I would change it.
Yeah.
And I would be like, oh, Homer wouldn't say that. Homer doesn't have that frame of reference. But I just, 30 years later, obviously things have changed. The idea of Homer having a cell phone to me just doesn't compute. So I know the show is very well done, and they've apparently done a great job of sort of modernizing elements of it. But it's not. I don't watch it unless there's a special episode, like the one where they went to Portland. Then I watch.
Yeah, that was a great one. One of the memorable episodes you wrote and scenes you wrote, and it ties back to your event series and your membership, is the steamed hams exchange between Principal Skinner and Superintendent Chalmers. It's been memed all over the place. I love the reference to upstate New York food. It clearly was written by somebody like you who is now dedicating yourself to food coverage. What were you thinking about when writing these episodes and bringing food into the show?
I can't emphasize enough how we were always thinking about food in those days, because I remember Josh and I, my partner, by the way, was Josh Weinstein, who I wrote with and co-ran the show with. We were best friends from high school. We're always thinking about food because that was your one. That was your one dopamine hit of the day. So I remember on several occasions we were like writing a script and we're like, there's 6 jokes on this page about food. We have to have jokes about other topics besides food. And so but we always defaulted back to that because for one, it's a fairly relatable subject. It's something that all humans share and so forth. So for steamed hams, though, it was a thing. Those two characters have a dynamic that had been established prior to that. I always loved it. I also love Chalmers because he's the only sane man in town.
Yeah.
And so
a real traditional hard ass.
Absolutely. He's a straight man for Principal Skinner, and their dynamic is that Skinner is always lying to him, and then Chalmers questions it, but then he usually drops it after one time, right? This time I was like, what if Chalmers didn't drop it and he kept pressing it over and over and over 14 or 15 times? And that's where this steamed hams bit came from. I won't recount it because people know it pretty well, but it did become I never heard anything about it for 20 years. And then all of a sudden in like 2014, it started to become this meme, and it built and it built and it built till it was the internet meme of the year in 2018.
It's wild because I think you said in an interview that at the table read, it was just a flat episode. You didn't have high hopes for that episode.
We were so blessed in that we didn't have to take notes from the network. Yeah. The whole show had been set up by James L. Brooks at a time when he was probably the most powerful director in Hollywood. And one of the concessions he got was that the network didn't get to give us notes. The studio didn't get to give us notes. Nobody except for him and Matt Groening could give notes. But he was gone directing movies, and Matt was on vacation in Hawaii or whatever. So Josh and I did whatever we wanted. Among them, things like 22 short films about Springfield, which didn't play well at the table. People weren't that fond of it, and we were just like, well, screw it. We're putting it on. We're running the show. It's our show. Bam. It goes on. And that's how these things happen.
It's like it's like magic in a bottle. I just love that episode. I'm from Utica, and I've never heard of these steamed hams. Such a great just tie into like food on the show.
Well, when this became a huge meme in 2018 was just about when I was starting my food things. And I was like, okay, there's got to be a way for me to link steamed hams, because steamed hams is euphemism for hamburgers, to link it to my food things. And I have successfully done so.
Yeah, tell us about that. You have the Steamed Ham Society. It's a membership group program. How's that work?
Steamed Ham Society is a club. You can go to steamedhamsociety.com.
Link in the show notes. We're doing it.
It is entirely Discord. It's a Discord for people who love to talk about food. And it's not just like fast. It's like there's like 25 channels. There's like fast food. There's
fun.
vegan food. There's barbecue. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of people who are real serious cooks in there, like barbecue chefs and stuff. And there's also people who are kind of internet food types, like Barry Enderwick from Sandwiches of History, and Jonathan Mays, who's the editor-in-chief of Restaurant Business Magazine. Mike Harris, former head chef of McDonald's, are in there from time to time. And so it's my source for food news. I used to read all these different blogs, but now all that stuff is on this Discord. So it's a great club. Anyway, and then I also have things like this. Anything with the word steam in it is something that's connected to me. In my culinary, so I have the Steamies. I also have Steamed Hams hamburgers. And I think I have another thing, which I'm forgetting about.
The speaking series, the dinner series?
Yes. That doesn't really have Steamed Hams in the title, but the dinner series is my undertaking for this year.
And so you are hitting the road. Plenty of Simpsons fans in the house, of course, but also food fans. How do these I guess you're like shows/dinners work? When we buy a ticket?
Okay, this is for me. This is very exciting because it's the first thing I've done that's kind of a business enterprise that is not some stupid TV thing. The TV business has collapsed, as we all know. And I'm excited.
Except for you do a great show on an audio series. Right?
That's true. That's not TV though. We can get to that.
We'll get into that later. Yeah.
So we did. This way that this originated was after The Simpsons. Josh and I did another show called Mission Hill, which was on the WB network back when that existed.
With the frog.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was canceled after 2 episodes. But it was then resuscitated by Adult Swim when Adult Swim was first invented. And they ran all the episodes we made, all 13 episodes, over and over and over for years in like 2006.
People
right?
fucking love Mission Hill.
Yeah.
It's one of those shows.
And it's shocking because we never heard anything about that either. And then we suddenly learned that there's a pretty serious cult fan base. It's very small, but they're very serious about it. And what we discovered is that there's probably about 200 people in every city. So we were on tour last year. We had a producer, a very good producer, who set up these events. And Josh and I went on a tour of like 25 cities, showing. You can't see the show on streaming or anything.
Really?
Showing it, yeah. You're showing it on movie theaters. And then Josh and I would do a Q&A, talk about the behind-the-scenes stuff to audiences. And we went to like 25 cities. And this is how this whole thing began. Because every city we went to, and I'm talking about cities like Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Dallas, et cetera, et cetera.
Good ones. Those are good ones.
Good food cities.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to go here, and while we're not doing the show, I want to eat everything I can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I'd always be like, where's the best cheesesteak? Very controversial in Philadelphia. But like, for instance, in Pittsburgh, I went to have the Ohio Valley style pizza, which is that style of pizza that has cold cheese on top of it and cold toppings. And it's so weird. It always shocks everybody when they hear that this exists. So I had that in Pittsburgh, and I had dozens of other things like that throughout the year. And then I came back to Portland and I was like, why can't you get these things in a restaurant anywhere? Like, we can get Chicago-style hot dogs, although they're not authentic. And we can get Detroit-style pizza, but that's it. And there's hundreds of these regional dishes all over the country that are really good that aren't sold outside their region.
Yeah.
So my thinking was, let's set up a ticketed dinner series. I will give a funny talk, be a funny slideshow. There'll be Simpsons anecdotes. There'll be talks about the history of these unusual food items, and we'll collaborate with restaurants around the country. So we started in Portland. It was a huge success. We sold out 2 nights in a couple of hours, and the event was quite a success
and fun. I would imagine
I think it was
tell
fun.
these stories.
It was fun. It's fun to tell these stories,
fun,
I tell these stories. There's Simpsons stuff for people who like that, but there's also serious food stuff that is kind of like, things that I've learned about the unusual styles of pizza and surprising things. So we serve a 7-course meal of dishes that I'm not going to say what they are because the secrecy is part of the fun. When I roll these out and I say, and here's your Altoona style pizza, for example. And then, so I'm doing them now. I have at least 12 cities already so far for
What's coming out like in May, June? Do you have any?
San Diego, most likely Boston, Atlanta, probably Cincinnati, and this is the kind of thing that if you have to follow my socials on that Bill Oakley on every platform, and you'll find out. But those are the ones that are gelling right now, and then I have them. They're all in the process of being set up, but I'd say there'll be at least 12 to 15 before
so cool,
October.
Bill. Love that because they seem super organic and original and real. And when events get too corporate, they just aren't fun.
This is fun. It's a real. It's a real. It's a real kind of like get your fingers into the tactile
into the Altoona pizza.
You get to taste it. It's a fun night for everybody.
I have more television food-related questions. You wrote on Portlandia, which I know was more of an improvisational show, but there was definitely some outlines there. Food is so present in this series. I adore the show. I love it. Between the farting patio, the farm-to-table restaurant, that chefs at the photo shoot bit. Oh my God, so good. There's the chef's table parody, and of course, cacao is a safe word. Oh yeah, and Steve Buscemi as a unlucky celery salesman. So many ways that food played a role in Portlandia. When you're on the writing staff, how are you bringing food to the show?
The start of the writing staff, I can say during the art, my time there is one person. It's literally the show is Fred, Carrie, John Kreisel, who's the head of the director, so basically the showrunner, and he's the director, and then one writer. And it's me. And there's sometimes another writer who comes on. It was me for one season. It was someone else for another season. And it's really just a lot of like shooting the shit, honestly, like about things. And Fred and Carrie, it has to come from their imagination. And what happens is we would do things like the only food one I really was involved with was Brunch Village.
Oh,
which
so
was
good.
I think it was second season,
Yeah.
which I wrote the entire outline for. I mean, they made most of it up, but I sort of structured it into its bits and pieces and turned in an outline for it. And then a lot of it has to do with the Portland food culture, which both at that time and now is extremely complex and is it's almost laughably self-indulgent in certain ways. And that's where the humor came from.
Yeah. I mean, one thing about Portland too, which I think is the big positive aspect of the city, it's extremely local. There's like very few national chains dotting the landscape. And that creates these like monocultures, these subcultures. This creates these paradoxes.
For sure. And I like, as a guy who sometimes is doing fast food things, it's interesting because we have a paltry amount of fast food chains there. And there's so many other ones that I would love to try on a regular basis, like Culver's and Freddy's and so forth, that we don't have, that it would be a 6-hour drive to the nearest one. But instead I have 100 terrific hamburgers within a 10-minute drive.
You would drive 6 hours for a Culver's.
Maybe.
I
love Culver's.
I do too.
I love Culver's.
Oh, I love it.
But the nearest one is in Idaho, and it would be 6 hours. And we have so many great hamburgers where I live, but I do love Culver's.
Yeah, no, Culver's is amazing. So when you're thinking about your channels and creating, the Steamy Awards, which we're going to talk about, are you doing like a lot of like just going to a city and research? Like how does your research process work?
I do a lot of research. I read a lot of art. When I say we're going to a certain city, like I went to Phoenix, like just on vacation like a couple weeks ago. First of all, I do a ton of research. I read Eater. I read every single thing that Eater has ever written about this place, the 38. And then I also I go through Reddit, and it's like best hot dogs, best fast food, best places that you wouldn't otherwise know in Phoenix. And then I also put it out on my Instagram and usually Twitter. I say, where should I go in Phoenix and what should I have? And then what I do is I make a chart. How many recommendations did this place get? I take 2 or 3.
I've done that too.
And it works great. And so I usually go to the places that have the most recommendations, and I never am disappointed with them. And it's usually just a matter of like, how much can I spend on an Uber? Like some of them are too far away to go to.
Right.
And but I've had in Phoenix, I had a great time, and I actually was invited by another influencer, quote unquote influencer, who saw me, invited me to watch her throw out the first pitch at the Oakland A's. I guess it's the Vegas A's now, training camp. And we had like a food adventure at the stadium that they put on. It was great.
I saw that video. I was like, how did that happen? Like, just DMs?
Yeah. It's somebody tagged her in the post where I said, where should I go in Phoenix?
So fun.
I know. It was great. That's the kind of thing that I'm always open to experiences like that when I go to other cities.
Yeah. I like that you're not like an LA guy, right? You're not like jaded like that. You're like very open-minded. You're very, I would say inquisitive about food culture. And with the Steamy Awards, which I think are a fun package, you have guest celebrity, I would say presenters for the awards. Talk about a few of the 2024 Steamy Award winners.
Okay. Just so you know, with on my Instagram, at the end of every year, I do an award show, which is called the Steamies, again, in honor of steamed hams.
The Steamies, no awards, just the Steamies.
There's 10 basically 1 minute long award presentations for things that I have had throughout the year. And I usually get a celebrity of some caliber. Sometimes we've had huge celebrities like Jeffrey Wright and Jake Tapper and things like that. And then sometimes I'm like, I want to do it myself, or I want to have friends do it, podcasters, members of the Steamed Ham Society. But it's recapping the best and the worst of the year. And they're on my Instagram. And so this year, there were the disappointment categories are always the most popular. And the Doughboys always award
the Doughboys. They're good.
They always award the disappointment of the year. So this year, we had a grocery disappointment of the year, which was the Olipop banana cream soda. And I'm not a big fan. I know you guys, this culinary world is being swamped by these probiotic and prebiotic sodas, and I can't hear about them. I hear about them every 10 seconds.
I know.
And I've only had one or two in my whole life, and I didn't like them. And my friend David Cohen, who you may know as one of the creators of Futurama, David X. Cohen, said, my wife found this soda. It's the worst soda we've ever had. And I was like, I have to try it. And I did. And I can't express this enough. Some people claim they like it, but I've never had any product that tasted so atrocious.
No, Olipop banana is trash. Hands down, absolute trash. I will defend Olipop in some way.
Uh-huh.
There's one that I really love, which is it's the fake Mountain Dew one.
Oh,
It's
wow.
basically doing Mountain Dew.
Uh-huh.
It's very good. I also like the cola. I also like the fake Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
Goodwin's cola, Goodwin's soda. I'm an Olipop defender, obviously.
Do you find it's good for your digestion?
Oh my God. I don't like the macros point to a good digestive day with the fiber. As Andrea Hernandez famously calls it, it's millennial Metamucil, as some have said.
I love Andrea Hernandez's stuff.
Yeah, her stuff is great. She's such a treasure. And I like it. I actually prefer like sparkling water or mineral water, like flat mineral water.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna pay money for things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
What about on the good side of the Steamies? Like, what were some 2024 winners for their excellence?
Man, I'll tell you, it's condiments. Are that's the hardest category because there's always at least 20 contenders for condiments. And sometimes I break it into like hot sauces and things like that and whatever.
Yeah.
But this year, for me, it was the clear winner was this product called Slausa, which you may have seen at the event. Did you get to try this?
I don't
Slausa?
think I saw it.
Okay.
The name is tripping me.
I know.
So.
People have. I definitely think the name is a little controversial.
Joke, frankly.
It does, but it's basically kind of like they call it slausa because it's part slaw and part salsa, but it's also really kind of like a sweet sauerkraut.
I like
type
it.
thing.
I like what you're saying.
And man, I love that stuff. And like you can put it. I mean, it's incredible on hot dogs, but I put it on eggs. I put it on everything, and I just eat it right out of the jar. And that product was at the fancy food show that we were at, and I've been a huge fan. That ran away with the award. But there's I've had some other great hot sauces and things like that was by far the most significant award winner this year.
Yeah. Back to the bad. It seems like White Castle did a frozen product.
That was the year before. Okay,
Yeah.
I want to say I love White Castle frozen sliders.
Really?
And I
Never
have
had
been
one.
a
They're good?
huge. Oh my God, they're so good. I've been eating them. I literally have been eating them since I think 1987 or whenever they came out. I'm not kidding. It's only 40 years now.
I wonder if anybody has a still frozen one from 1987.
I bet you they do.
Yeah.
And
Put the call out, Bill. You could get that.
God.
Put it in the Discord.
I think you're right.
Let's get that.
That's got to be. That would be something I probably wouldn't want to try. But they. Okay, so I love those microwave frozen sliders they make. And they're actually, having now had White Castle at the restaurant several times, I would say the microwave sliders are just about as good. They're 90% as good. And they're better than some of the ones like that terrible White Castle in Las Vegas, which makes the worst White Castle food in the world. But I love those. So, and I was excited as hell when they came out with these little ones. This was in 2024. Little ones they're exactly the same size and shape as pizza rolls, Totino's pizza rolls, but they're filled with ground up hamburger.
That is
ground up
insane.
cheeseburger, right? And
They're like a roll, or they're like a little mini slider, like one of those.
they're not hamburger shaped.
Oh,
they're
like
little
spring rolls.
puff pastry things like Totino's pizza rolls
Oh, I see.
that are filled with ground up cheeseburgers. And I was like, these are going to be my new favorite thing, and they're so bad. They smell like cat food, and I haven't eaten cat food, but I do have 4 cats.
Yeah.
But they taste like cat food, must taste. And I'm so shocked that they're still on the market today. And everybody that I know who's tried them, including dozens of people online, agrees with me. So that product, that was a miss that was a huge miss.
Have you vibed with Dennis Lee, aka
I'm friends with Dennis Lee. Do you
Dicko
know that?
Dennis? Of course.
Yes, Dennis Lee and I have hung out several times. In fact, he gave me a Chicago hot dog tour.
Oh, you and Dennis have IRL'd? I was just thinking that man knows his way around a cat food recipe. He's done the work, shall we say.
We have hung out at least twice.
He's the
when I've
best.
been in
He's
Chicago.
such a smart guy. I love him.
Yeah, he's great. We went out to lunch a couple times, and then he also and his wife took me out for a Chicago-style hot dog tour last time I was there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that. I was just thinking like cat food. Like this is the guy who
Sure.
dug into that.
Can't give that.
Bill, what's your dream food TV show?
What you mean
For you to do,
for me to
you
do?
to like produce, for you to like write, for you to star in, for you to animate. I'm giving you
Okay,
broad.
it wouldn't be animated. Well, it would be a show that would be somewhere between starring me. That's
Right.
somewhere on the spectrum between Somebody Feed Phil and Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, starring me.
I see
But it would be funnier than both of those shows.
Wait, Phil's taking some strays on.
No, Phil is very funny.
He's a funny guy.
I would say
he's
but
really funny.
I would have my show would probably be more funny in kind of a Letterman type of way.
I follow. You were not being negative towards Phil, to be clear. I went the wrong direction.
No,
though.
Phil's very funny.
Phil's very funny.
But I think mine would have more scripted pieces and so forth. And, it would be about things. There would be a lot more. Let me put it this way. There would be a lot more negative material than there is on Phil's show. His show is generally about appreciation of things. And I think mine would be a mix of stuff of like both atrocious material and delicious material that would be funny. And what I think of as the apex of stuff that I liked in this vein was Letterman's scripted pieces from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a number of food ones, like where he worked at the McDonald's drive-through window,
That was good.
for example.
Classic.
That type of thing. And I think my show would be like that.
Into it. Where are we at with the development? How far are we with this? Like this conversation
We're
is
nowhere. If anyone listens to this, I'd say that the market for TV food shows right now is very geared towards competition shows.
I know.
And competition shows are cheap because the people you don't pay them anything.
Your
to
show
do
can
them.
be cheap.
It could be,
Your-
but then
your
it might
show-
as well be on YouTube.
Yeah, true.
That's the thing. It's like, unless, let's say, Netflix were to buy the show and then promote it, it'd probably do just as well on YouTube. That's part of the thing.
You got to do OTT. You got to get on one of those cool channels that maybe has a little bit less of a barrier entry and doesn't feel like it's.
Well, should people from those channels be listening, you could DM me on Instagram.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get this in works and have you back. Well, I love this conversation. You're appearing all over the country this year. Have you thought about a cookbook? Thought about a food book?
I have thought about a cookbook, and I have, but I'm not really a chef.
Yeah.
But I could, I could compile recipes from various sources. I haven't given it any serious thought.
Okay. Well, let's talk.
Okay.
I got ideas. It doesn't have to be a cookbook. You don't have to be a chef. I've written cookbooks. I'm no chef.
Okay.
Just to be
Excellent.
clear. Bill, and this is Taste Best Guess about the discerning taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid fire, fast and furious taste check. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The best fruit.
Huckleberry.
Never had that answer. What's the flavor?
It's almost like somewhere between grape and blueberry. If you remember, like I didn't even know what it was for about 40 years. I was like, this flavor, I must have had it in some sort of fake kids product when I was a kid. And I was like, that's the flavor I've been looking for my whole life. It tastes like purple. That's all I can say. If you can imagine what purple tastes like, not being grape, it has a rich, luscious, fruity flavor that is somewhere between grape and blueberry, which I love. And it's very common in the Pacific Northwest.
Love that. The worst vegetable.
Cauliflower. I've tried so many times to like it and so many different versions of it, and I can't get past the weird, bitter part of it.
Half a cup of olive oil. Roast that on high temp.
Oh, I've tried it.
Za'atar, lemon, maybe sumac.
I
Not feeling it. Maybe some tahini.
I would even have broccoli. I didn't like broccoli for years, and I finally came around on broccoli, doing it in that way.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I love it. What's your typical breakfast?
2 sunny side up eggs with a ton of hot sauce,
Ooh.
depending on which hot sauce I'm trying. And I have a long list. I just cleared out my hot sauce collection, and there were over 100 bottles of ones.
Do you have like a hot sauce fridge?
I did, but it got too big. It got too full. So I got rid of the ones that were too old. And now I have it's down to 20, but I used to have over 100. So I'm always trying new ones. So it's a sample. It's 2 sunny side up eggs. I like them that way more than any other way. And it's a great I'll just cover them with hot sauce, whichever one I'm trying that day.
The best dessert.
Some sort of like apple crumble type thing. That's I can't get over I love it when there's like warm, hot apple pie with vanilla ice cream, but I like it when there's extra super streusely, crumbly stuff on it.
Yeah. Well, you like a crumb versus like a lattice. It
Yes,
sounds like.
absolutely. I
that's
want
your
more
move.
of that stuff. Also cheesecake, but it has to be cheesecake with the crust that's like 3 times thicker than a regular crust.
Yes.
Of graham crackers and stuff. That I actually make that. And I have
Exactly.
recipe.
I think you can only do it when you're making it.
Yeah, and I put in 2 or 3 times as much graham cracker crust as you're supposed to.
Oh, a homemade pressed in graham cracker crust.
Yeah,
But like doubling it.
absolutely.
That's the move. I agree. Is there a restaurant you wish you could bring back from the dead?
Yes, it's a food cart from Portland called Off the Leash, which did scrupulously careful Chicago things.
Yeah.
Like they had the only canonically perfect Chicago dog in town, Italian beef, all that stuff. And they had all the sodas, they had everything, and they went out of business.
We call it pop in the Midwest, just saying.
Okay, all right, sorry, Pop, the Fago and all that stuff.
Yeah,
They had so much of that stuff and it's gone. But I would say that's a very, very ultra local thing. That was my my thing. In terms of bigger places, I want to try Burger Chef. I want it to come back from the dead in 1979, so I could try it. I would like to try Hot Now, and I know there's one still somewhere.
Yeah, Sturgis, Michigan. I could go on long about that, but it is in Sturgis, Michigan. I grew up at eating Hot Now.
Was it
the
good?
olive burgers there are legendary, and yes, right on the Indiana border, Sturgis, Michigan, the only remaining Hot Now. Let's go there together.
I'd love to. Also, Rack's roast beef.
Wow. We could do a whole episode on Rax. I love that Rax has come up.
Yes.
Phil, you came to play with this question. Rax is such an iconic roast beef chain. Thank you for saying that. Why do you like Rax?
I've never been there.
The idea of Rax, sorry.
Because I like Arby's, and I would like to have a more elevated version of Arby's, which I think Rax was.
Certainly right. This is like brings me such joy that you brought up Rax. my childhood is coming back to me. Big question for you: when you're craving fast food, what's your first stop?
Well, if I'm anywhere within 600 miles of one, it would be Culver's or Freddy's, but I'm not. So generally, it will be Arby's. Honestly, most of the time, I would like to go to Arby's, but it's not close. A lot of it's determined by how close the thing is.
You're in a fast food desert, Bill.
I am. And I don't like to complain about it because in Portland, we're so blessed to be surrounded by so much great local grown food within like the whole area. Is that all our food comes from within 100 miles.
But are you, Bill? You like fast food. You're in a fast food desert.
We have a lot of places that I got to stay the party line with this one.
You are.
We have a lot of places that make fast food style things in Portland that are elevated. But that said, sometimes I would like to get my food real quick at a drive-through. And in that case, I would go to Wendy's or I would go to McDonald's.
Favorite city outside America to visit for food?
So honestly, I never go outside of America.
Really?
If I did go, it would probably be someplace like Warsaw, because having tried so many different types of regional food, what I loved was the Polish food that I had in Pittsburgh and I had in Detroit, and I can't get enough Polish food.
That is part of this book idea.
Wow.
Thinking about American food going overseas. We got a riff on this.
Cool.
Last one, your favorite sandwich.
This is from another place in Portland, but I'll tell you I have two. I want to have two answers to two. Okay, place in Portland called Sandwich makes a sandwich called the pastrami zombie, with their house smoked pastrami, Swiss cheese, a ton of coleslaw, and Thousand Island or mustard, or both. My favorite sandwich. Amazing. Everybody has to get that. But I also have a sandwich that I make at home, which is somebody has correctly called it kind of an Americanized Cubano, which is a grilled ham and cheese sandwich with pickles and Coleman's mustard. And it has to be Coleman's mustard because it's so intense. Yeah. That sandwich is, and also Duke's mayonnaise. That sandwich is my favorite sandwich to make. And I have a recipe, by the way, that you could DM me on Instagram and I'll send you for that sandwich.
Bill Oakley, please come back. You're always invited. We will do 30 on Rax. I will come prepared. I love this conversation. Thank you so much for joining This Is Taste.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
This Is Taste is hosted and produced by Eliza Barbanel and me, Matt Rodbar. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Logo and guest illustrations by Ellie Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.